He is in the finals. He's in the finals, and he's ready to try to take the trophy. Now, if you guys do follow the Leaving a Legacy column on StarCityGames.com, you're going to see his column in there this week. He's going to be writing the column for that, talking about this deck, and he'll be talking about being a runner-up or a champion this week. Yeah. I'm really, really looking forward to it either way. How he came across this is awesome. And Guibault says, it's time for me to mulligan this hand. A hand of Daze, Spell Pierce, Force Will, 3 lands. Probably not the best.
No, he needs to get on the ground. And we saw, you know, in his top 8 match, Kennen slogged through a lot of counter spells. You know, his opponent had the Rug draw of a Tarmogoyf with a bunch of counters, and Kennen's seemingly endless sea of Terminate and similar effects were able to slog through that kind of draw. So
yeah.
Josh really needs to get on the ground fast. He can't mess around too much using his mana in early turns on cantrips. It's got to be on the board. It's got to be fast, probably backed up with Wasteland.
Yeah. So one mulligan here for Guibault, who's going to be on the play. Don't forget, after this game, we'll bring it back to the booth. We'll have a year-long question where Patrick will be adequately prepared to ask a question for you to answer for 12 months premium that we will announce the winner of at the conclusion of this match. And then we'll have our sideboard interview, and then we're going to put a cap on this bad boy because you and I got to go catch flights in the morning of Tuesday.
Mine's been rescheduled for tomorrow night.
I believe that you believe that. You're not going anywhere.
I have a confirmation email from the good people over at Delta. It's confirmed for the time being.
Okay.
And worst comes to worst, we'll be hanging out.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but tomorrow afternoon, maybe a little lunch at Noodles, plus maybe a little Wolf on Wall Street.
Do you think maybe?
Hey, I'm down. That or American Hustle. Those are the options.
I've heard mixed reviews on both.
I don't care what people think.
Okay.
I decide for myself.
Sure.
I'm my own man.
Okay.
I've heard that Wolf on Wall Street's a little long. It's like 3 hours, but that's fine. I got nothing else to do. There's a blizzard out there. And if the movie theater's closed, I'm going to riot.
Are we really going to eat at Noodles again?
What kind of stupid backwards question is that?
We've had a lot of meals at Noodles.
I've only been there twice. It was closed today due to weather conditions. To answer your question, however, yes, we will be eating the Noodles again.
All right, Josh going back to 5 here.
Poor time for mulligan, especially against the grind you out deck that makes you discard like crazy.
Are mulligans bad against the smallpox deck?
The answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
I think the problem you have with noodles, very briefly, is that you get buttered noodles all the time.
Well, it's called Noodles and Company. I want to go for their specialty item, the noodles.
They have a lot of different options. You get buttered noodles.
If a place calls itself the Steakhouse, you probably get the steak, right?
This is true.
Noodles and Company.
But there are different kinds of steak. You can do better than the buttered noodles. I know you're a plain Jane kind of guy. You can mix it up a little bit every now and again. That's all I'm trying to say.
I want to go to Steak and Shake. We haven't gone to Steak and Shake yet. I want to go there. I want to get a milkshake. Let's go to Steak and Shake.
I can't say no to a Frisco man. All right, you got me.
Deal.
You got me. You're paying, right? Perfect.
I guess.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It's on air, so you can't say no now. Appreciate you. Really nice.
Yeah, no problem.
If he doesn't pay, I'll tweet it. So really just destroy the character of Basic Mountain.
Right.
That's who I am. And if you do pay, I'll tweet that you didn't. So.
If one tweet from you is gonna ruin the goodwill I built in the community over the last 15 years, then I guess I didn't have as much as I thought I did to begin with. You know. Basic Mountain reneged his promise to pay for $15 worth of food.
You think I'm only going to get $15 worth, huh?
Hashtag scum.
Here is a Tundra from Giva. So he's going to keep his 5 cards here. His hand, not all that impressive. He's got a Brainstorm. He's got a couple of lands. He's got a True Name. There's a Wasteland. That's a good place to start when your opponent mulligan's 5.
Yeah, trading 1 for 1, very good in this spot.
But Guibault has lands. He's got a Volcanic Island. He could have played Fetch Land. He chose not to. And I actually like this because he can try to induce another Wasteland. I certainly don't blame Kenneth for trying to mana screw his opponent there when they mulligan to 5. Guibault just happens to have 3 lands in his draw. And again, it's not like his deck plays a lot of lands. He plays 20.
And Kenneth has just picked up an Entomb here, so he can actually set up Entomb for Loam and start that engine.
Or the Nether Spirit engine.
That's
now we're talking. Grind you down.
Josh does have 2 copies of Trinity Nemesis, and Kenneth's deck obviously has quite a few answers.
Yeah.
But if there's any 5-card hand capable of stealing a game here, it's one pretty close to the one that Josh has.
I was thinking about very briefly about what happens if Guibault Swords to Plowshares, the Nether Spirit, and the Squee? Can Kenneth win? The answer is yes, because he has the one punishing fire. So. Yeah, so I wanted to. I was actually kind of scared. I was like, what if Josh just runs off 2 swords, kills both the guys, and Kenneth doesn't any counter magic? He also has Dark Depths and Thespian Stage. Okay, so he's good. He's good. He's got just enough win conditions. Here's an Entomb. Is it time to brainstorm? We're looking for a counter spell. Maybe a Daze for Mr. Guibault? 1, 2, 3. Brainstorm, Bolt, and a Misty Rainforest. So he immediately puts cards back very quickly. And Entomb is good. What's it gonna be from the Swiss Army knife?
I mean, Loam seems very attractive to get here.
I kind of like trying to put him in the lock.
He may already have a Loam in hand.
He may not need another one. Loam it is.
Okay.
All right. This is my kind of Entomb deck right here.
I was hoping to Entomb for another Spirit and then already have the Loam, so we have a little offense-defense going on.
Ah, yeah, yeah. Get him from both angles.
Right.
All right. Haas has Squee in his hand. Gonna dredge the Loam. Here we go. 2, 3. So Liliana, Entomb, and Faithlessing. So surprisingly enough, no lands over there for the Loam.
But he has Smallpox in hand, so he does have a True Name Nemesis covered. And again, it's hard to overstate how attractive it is to try to set up Wasteland Lock against an opponent who's mulligan to 5 and has no basic lands in their deck. So Kennen doesn't need to get a huge Loam here. He just needs to keep Wasteland going, and that's going to be likely enough to take this first game.
Yeah, just going to try to continue to put him in the squeeze. 2 lands are going to come back, the Wasteland and the Bloodstained Mire. Loam does resolve, and Haas can pass a turn back. Says, do your worst. And if your worst is True Name Nemesis, your worst is not enough.
No.
Mr. Guibault, he's going to sacrifice Misty Rainforest, search for a land. If I ever get to play in a Legacy tournament again, I know exactly where I'm going.
I don't think you have the guts.
I would play this deck in a heartbeat. You kidding me? I played Belcher for a year.
At least with Belcher, it's over fast.
Yeah,
These are
I lost quickly.
These
You're
are
right.
some.
Yeah, you're
These are
right
some
about that.
Kennen's priced himself into some long rounds this weekend, I'm sure.
Brainstorm here on the end step from Guibault. Wants to get some things set up. There's a Wasteland. There's a Swords. Swords pretty much dead in this matchup. And of course, Wasteland, while it is appealing to want to try to get that green source, when you're playing against Life in the Loam deck that just resolved Life in the Loam, you know he's got lands in his hand. Not so much. Not so much.
I mean, he has no answer next turn if Kennen just goes Smallpox and then Wastelands you after the fact. So he's just got to hope that Kennen plays around some piece of soft permission and isn't willing to go for it.
Scalding Tarn going to come in. He's going to go searching here. So we're gonna see True Name in just a moment here from Guibault.
Again, for those of you just tuning in, Kennen somehow got through ad nauseum tendrils in these semifinals to get to this.
I don't know how, and you can take a look at the deck list. We're not over exaggerating when we say it was about as bad as it gets. Yeah, and you know the deck list is on our coverage page. Ruben covered the match, so there's a written feature of that over there as well. So I can't wait to read it because I don't actually know what happened. All I know is that he won.
Yeah.
No Dredge of Loam here. Take a draw step. Caracas is the draw.
Yeah, I think his plan this turn is to just play Wasteland, cast Smallpox, then use Wasteland, and then you can start loaming next turn.
So here's a Pox. Time for Guibault to discard. And lose a True Name, and sack a land, and lose a life. There goes the Badlands.
And even though it's completely unnecessary, Ken has all the resources to work with. As an additional kicker, the card he is discarding is Squee Goblin Nabob.
Value!
So the order on Smallpox actually matters. You have to do A, both players do A, then B, then C, so they're just getting the operations right.
Sacrifice a creature. Sacrifice on land. There goes the red source. Of course, Kenneth wants to keep the green source for Loam. Wouldn't be surprised to see Guibault actually try to Wasteland that green source. Going to probably get rid of one of those lands with Wasteland, which he does. So now Guibault is left with a Volcanic Island versus a Bayou.
That was a pretty good turn for Ken.
Above average. Smallpox is maybe the new hotness here. And again, Guibault can try to Wasteland him and try to get him, but again, he's playing against a Loam deck.
Yeah. Yeah, he's in a hard place. He obviously needs his mana. There's some hope if he Wastelands that maybe Ken just doesn't have much mana left. But
And he's just gonna pass the turn back. I don't I don't even think wastelanding is good.
no, Josh is on a plan now where he hopes that he can draw land next turn, land shooting Nemesis, and Kennen just randomly can't find an answer.
Nether Spirit turned over. You're gonna take a look at that. That's coming back for free.
Yeah, more value.
Yeah.
I mean, discard Squee to my Smallpox, dredge over another Spirit with my Life Removal. Are you kidding me with this value?
Makes it look easy.
Yeah.
There's a Bloodstain Mire. I'm just gonna pass the turn back, so not casting Loam this turn. Maybe he has like an Entomb he wants to cast or something of that nature. We'll find out. Got Crop Rotation in his hand in case he gets Wastelanded. I actually kind of like that. Go for a Wasteland. The ultimate punishment. Crop Rotate 4. Crop Rotate 4 Wasteland. Kill your land. Yeah, you gotta be kidding me. I would love to play this deck. Wasteland me, huh? I think so. So he's gonna sacrifice Bloodstained Mire, go get a Bayou. He says, "May I draw? May I return my Nether Spirit? Thank you kindly." You don't have white mana as swords yet, and I don't really care if you do. Mox Diamond the draw. That's explosive.
Yeah, I mean, if he finds a white source of mana and is able to plow the Nether Spirit, all that does is means that he has to suffer through the ignominy of being killed by Squee beatdowns.
Yeah. Or until we dredge over Thespian Sage in Dark Depths.
Right.
Here's a Loam. It's time to go get a Wasteland. Among others. So, Wasteland, the Mire, and the Badlands. They can't attack quite yet. Gonna play Wasteland. Get that Volcanic Island out of here. You see Guibault saying he's got a true name, but he ain't ever gonna get to cast that.
No.
He is real close to being in the sleeper hold.
So Misty Rainforest, a reasonably good draw for Josh Ayers. It allows him to cast Swords to Plowshares, but the larger systemic issues are basically unsolvable at this point.
I also like how Kennen's playing this game of just like always keeping up crop rotation just in case. I actually like that a lot. And it's just Guibault's just gonna concede the game. The sleeper lock has been applied.
Yeah.
Yet again by Kennen Haas, your number 2 seed. We're moving back to the booth here. It is trivia time one more time
I'm
here.
just having too much fun watching
You missed I'm telling you, you missed the match when Ruben and I were in here where he played against Shroud. Shroud was playing Death and Taxes, and game 2 went like 30 turns or something. And like for 20 of the turns, Kennen just had a Liliana, and Shroud had a Rest in Peace, and he was just like taking it up, and Shroud somehow cobbled together like the perfect amount of draws to actually be able to, put a creature into play and start attacking Liliana, because Liliana ultimated twice this game, and Liliana's ultimate, it was like, your land or your Rest in Peace, and Shroud's like, well, I can't win if Rest in Peace dies, so okay, you got my land. And the next time it was like, so your Wasteland or your Rest in Peace, and then Shroud was able to like draw the necessary lands to put like a Mother of Runes in play to start attacking that thing, and drew like a Wasteland on time to kill Maze of It, and all of this ridiculous stuff happened, up to and including Squee Goblin and Bob being hardcast, blocking and attacking Mother Runes, which was correct to attack with Mother Runes because it was going after Liliana, and then before damage, Caracasing back the Squee. This all happened in a game that Kenneth lost. And he was fighting his heart out. So this is enjoyable for you. The first match that we watched of this deck today, and I think a lot of people saw it at home, was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. But get your Twitters ready. Hashtag SCG Premium. Patrick's going to ask you a question. Going to announce the winner at the conclusion of this match that Kennen Haas is currently winning. Fire away, my friend.
So presuming that Cedric and I are ever able to leave Indianapolis, which is a big if at this point.
Yes, it is.
You and I will be working a show a mere 6 days from now. Name that city.
Where are we going to be next week?
One, a little hint, one less likely to be afflicted by a horrible snowstorm that leaves us waylaid for an indefinite period of time.
That's true. That is true. So if you name that city, hashtag SCG Premium for your answer, and we will announce the winner at the conclusion of this finals match. It's time to go to the sideboard here.
And quite honestly, I think tournaments like this and what Kennen's doing here is actually really important for Legacy. There was this feeling, 3 or 4 years ago around Grand Prix Columbus where Legacy was this wide open, vast universe where you could do whatever you felt like doing, and all these old cards would come back. Over time, there's been more tournaments. There's been more prizes given out where people are trying to mine the format. Legacy's available on Magic Online. And over time, there's this feeling that we sort of figured out the format. And there's these 3 or 4 or 5 decks. And I think it's really important, quite honestly, for the health of the format long term to periodically have large events like this where something off the wall, something that's taking advantage of all the weirdness that Legacy has to offer, ends up at the final table and possibly takes the trophy home. I think Legacy needs tournaments like this to keep up the notion that anything is possible in the format.
I mean, this spices things up, right? I mean, even if you're, someone who's trying to get into Legacy at this point too, Legacy is certainly a pretty expensive format to get into. You take a look at this deck. I don't think this is the most expensive deck in the world.
Tabernacles are a little
I mean,
pricey.
there are definitely some expensive cards here, but comparatively, I mean, there's some much more expensive Legacy decks out there. This deck, I think, is approachable for someone who wants to maybe come into Legacy, and certainly, you're going to have a blast if you play this deck.
No blue duels and no blue fetches and no force of wills is a pretty good foundation for having not the most expensive deck in the world.
So, sideboard time. Guibault, uphill climb, especially if you mulligans a 5 again. What can he do?
Let's see. 2 copies of Rest in Peace.
Okay.
Very solid here.
The best. The
he
best
has access to Wear Tear, Sword of Feast and Famine, 2 Pyroblast, 4 Meddling Mage. Meddling Mage also seems potentially solid here, as I think Kennen's primary plan in this matchup is to get Loam Wasteland going.
Okay.
So Meddling Mage on Life from the Loam is reasonable. A Grafdigger's Cage, a Flusterstorm, and 3 Grimoire-Mancers. So a couple, he's got some real sideboard cards too.
He's got some things to do. Got some stuff to work with. We take a look at Haas's sideboard here. 1 Crop Rotation, Ancient Grudge, a Punishing Fire, a Phyrexian Ingester, a Ray of Revelation, 3 Python Needle, a Coffin Purge, 2 Innocent Blood, a Maze of It, the Sphere of Resistance, the Tabernacle, and the Exploration. I mean, not a ton of stuff that he can really work with here. I do like Punishing Fire, of course, here. Can take care of the Delvers, and he can take care of the Stoneforge Mystic. Brave Revelation is a card that he can use to be able to take care of Rest in Peace, which is absolutely fantastic against this deck. Gonna give Guibault a great shot to win if he's able to get that onto the board. Maybe an additional Maze if he'd like to go that route. Innocent Blood I like too. Yeah. Honestly, I think that one's good in this matchup, and that's really about it. I mean, Tabernacle's okay. I don't know if he wants a second one of those. Outside of that, I mean, maybe he wants additional crop rotation. Not sure if that's necessary or not, but he's definitely got some tools. We'll see how he does opt to sideboard. The big thing here, and this is actually what happened in the Magic and Shroud, when Haas and Shroud played a little bit earlier today, Shroud was able to just get a Rest in Peace down. You could really see that Kennen's deck really has trouble working through that. And a lot of people at home were like, does he not have Abrupt Decay in his deck list? The answer is no, he does not. Now, maybe that's obviously a choice, and I'm sure that he knows that Abrupt Decay is a very good card in Legacy, and maybe he wants to have that in his deck after this tournament. Now he sees that Rest in Peace is a pretty prevalent sideboard card in our format.
Yeah, maybe he wants some on the board, but game 1 his deck is, one for one trade like that. His deck is trying to do something a little more overwhelming than just have some spy removal. So, and so much of his deck is the engine. Like, there's so many deck slots devoted to what he's trying to fundamentally do that there's not a lot of wiggle room.
Yeah, and I definitely don't think that he wants, as you mentioned, Abrupt Decay in his main deck. I think he wants it in the sideboard as an answer to Rest in Peace.
Another thing that's very entertaining about Kennen's deck list, and you viewers at home don't have the luxury of knowing this, is in the sideboard, crossed out is 1 copy of the Abyss. So this is definitely a labor of love, brewer-wise.
He was nice about it.
Yeah.
He took that one out. He was nice to everybody. Next time, there will be the Abyss. It's like when Joe Lisek cuts the moat.
Right.
It's like, you guys get a chance this weekend.
Right.
And then maybe he gets like 9th place because he has a draw, because he always has a draw. It's like, all right, you know what? I'm going to get the moat back in my deck.
Right.
That's what I'm going to do.
Might be time to put the second Baneslayer back in the sideboard.
Got to close those games out.
Yep.
Oh, boy. So, Guibault's going to be on the play. And, again, this matchup, I don't want to make it easy or anything like that, but it might just revolve around Rest in Peace, honestly.
It does give Josh a real shot, and that's something that Ken didn't have to play against his Rogue Delver opponent in the top 8.
It almost feels like he just has to mulligan to that card, which is pretty rough for him, but, I mean, you got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah.
And if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. And, of course, it is absolutely fantastic in this matchup. Haas's deck does not operate very well. I mean, you can take a look at the cards in his deck. Entomb, I don't think so. Faithless Looting, Life from the Loam, some of the things that he's doing with the Lance in his graveyard, some of his victory conditions, and other Spirit Squeak Goblin Bob. He's only got 1 Punishing Fire, the Raven's Crime. He uses his graveyard. His graveyard is an extension of his hand with this deck. And once you shut that off, that really, really hurts his deck. Now, one thing, and part of the reason I explained this a little bit earlier, that I think he's having a great tournament is that graveyard decks just aren't very prevalent right now.
Yes.
We don't really see Dredge at these tournaments anymore. We saw Reanimator for the win-in against Guibault a little bit earlier, but we haven't seen that deck very much anymore.
Right, and Deathrite Shaman actually isn't that effective against this deck because there's so much creature removal.
Yeah. You kind of laugh at Deathrite Shaman here.
Yeah.
Really easy for him to kill.
I mean, it's probably better than most cards are.
Agreed.
But, you know, he does have a healthy amount of removal.
All right, we're underway. There's a Tundra, and there's a Delver. So, Haas, let's see what kind of start he can get off to here. The best start to this deck, I was about to say, involved Mox Diamond, and then he drew one.
Yeah, it looks like Josh's hand is reasonably powerful here. He has a Stoneforge Mystic and a Spell Pierce, a Brainstorm, but no Rest in Peace.
Yeah. And that is the important one.
So we'll see now if a normal good draw has any chance of competing against what Kennen's doing in this matchup.
So there's a Mox Diamond to start. And I discard a Tundra. Or excuse me, a Taiga. A Wooded Foothills. Are we going to go for a Smallpox right now?
Oh my god. What an opening.
Don't do him like this.
Come on, man. His hand was good. What are you doing?
I think you just go for it, too.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I mean, if you force will, sure, you're 2-for-1ing yourself. Not to get absolutely ruined. He's just going to punish him.
Okay.
Okay. He's going to let him off easy.
Sure.
What a nice guy.
He's going to give him one more turn.
Doesn't want to get dazed, I think, is the reason for that. So I like that well enough.
A reasonable desire.
Force a will to draw.
Pretty good there.
Yeah,
Protects him from
not bad at
Smallpox
all.
next turn.
Time to cantrip. It is ponder time for Mr. Guibault. Another copy of Force of Will. But again, and we mentioned this a little bit in one of his other matches, you know, it's a situation where it's like, sure, you can Force of Will my spells. That's fine, because I want you to 2-for-1 yourself. I actively want that. As long as we are at some sort of parity, or, you know, you're not forcing a will of spell when I'm at like 5 life or something like that, that's fine. Force of Will all you want.
Right.
Guibault going to play a Wasteland past the turn back. Faithless Looting the draw here. Another card that I really do love in this deck. The fact that he gets to abuse this. Almost no drawback, excuse me, to the card in his deck.
See a Wasteland on Tundra.
Clear that out.
It's so hard for Josh to get any sort of foothold in this game.
Yeah, that's the big deal, right? He can never get any traction and get ahead. That's how it's felt the entire time. Even in the first game where he was actually able to cast Trinity Nemesis, the entire time it's just like, that's fine. You feel free. Here's a Faithless Looting. Hit 1, hit 2. There's a Grove. Bloodstained Mire. Grove's obviously going to turn on the Punishing Fire in the graveyard. There's a Punishing Fire in his hand, so we can safely discard that. There goes the Bloodstained Mire. See what other card he wants to discard here. Still has that Smallpox. He's going to discard the Punishing Fire. He can play the Grove now and actually pick up both Punishing Fires.
Yeah, not willing to do it just yet because he's, you know, the Wasteland.
Okay. That's a little bit risky, though.
Yeah, it is perhaps a more conservative play than the one I would make there.
Just because if Guibault has if he has Rest in Peace on this turn, it really ends up bad because you lose both your Punishing Fires. But he does not. He just plays a Stoneforge Mystic. Might see a little Smallpox next turn.
Josh does have Force of Will. I mean, he now has something going on the board, which is what he was, you know, missing in the previous game.
I don't think Haas played a land that turn either, did he?
He played Wasteland.
Oh, you're right. Thank you. Thank you.
So Josh now with a little bit of action. And he does have Force of Will, so unless Kennen can chain together 2 removal spells or Wasteland Josh off of white mana, Josh will get to activate that Stoneforge Mystic.
Alright, so Haas going to take a draw step here. Can't quite use Faithless Looting. Okay. Interesting draw step there for him. Kind of neat just how good Faithless is in his deck. Especially when you have Punishing Fire, you can pick them up. You know, give your opponent a life, pick them up, discard them. Basically, just a draw two at that point.
Another thing that's noteworthy is, with the second Punishing Fire, he can actually say he can play a land this turn, Punishing Fire the Stoneforge Mystic. Even if Josh wants to fight over this, he can simply Punishing Fire twice.
Dictate the Batter Skull.
Right.
Yeah.
And then sweep up the Stoneforge Mystic potentially the following turn. So
not in a rush at all.
Yeah.
So let's see how Haas wants to play through this turn. Pretty strange decision tree here. You could just go for the full blowout with Smallpox and just try to get him. And he's gonna, okay, so it looks like he's gonna go returning. Yeah, so return both, and then he's gonna go looting, it looks like. Okay. See if this resolves. I can't imagine we fight over this.
Yeah.
Alright, so 1. Tabernacle, not
Tabernacle's
bad.
not a bad draw here either.
Mox Diamond, not bad. I think you can probably discard those Punishing Fires. I think.
Well, I think he wants to keep one and at least try to tag Stoneforge this turn.
Well, he won't be able to because he's already played his land for the turn. So he can't play Mox Diamond as a source. But since he's already played his land, he's not gonna be able to tag it this turn. So, but I kind of agree with you that in the fact that I think he wants to keep one just because of Rest in Peace. Like I think you want to have access to one.
Yeah, he's running some risk. Although it's likely that he doesn't have, if he has Tabernacle in his hand now, he doesn't really have to worry about this turn because Josh is almost certainly going to be paying the upkeep on his Stoneforge Mystic.
Punishing Fire, both do get discarded, so Guibault would have to draw Rest in Peace this turn. Dazes the draw. Got a lot of counter magic over there. Jeez.
It's not clear how much utility that's going to provide though.
All right, Haas, take a draw. Smallpox number 2. So now, it's kind of interesting if you want to play Tabernacle or not this turn. I think you do. I also kind of like this too, because, man, this is interesting stuff, because now he can play Mox Diamond, discarding the Bayou, and then he can cast Smallpox. And now this is going to force a counterspell, obviously. I think that's almost a guarantee. Or he could just return Punishing Fire. Yeah, so now he's going to pay, get them both back. Now it looks like he might try to fire off a Smallpox so he has something to discard.
Well, I don't think he can Smallpox with the mana that he has floating right now.
So he added a red. He added a red, gave Guibault a life, used that red to return, used the other red to return, then he has 2 Mox Diamonds to cast Pox. Or he can just cast Punishing Fire. It just depends on which spell he wants to cast. He wants to cast Punishing Fire. Alright, so activate this. Then he comes Batter Skull. Haas gives that a thumbs up. Brian Brownwin is here. Punishing Fire resolves. Tabernacle. Lock up one of your lands. Likely your Wasteland. Pass the turn. Remember, it's a slow grind.
Oh yeah.
It's a slow grind. It's not quick.
And, Kennen has a lot of life points to play with as well.
So Guibault.
But keep in mind, Josh has 2 Force of Wills now protecting this.
Yeah, no, he's got to play the tempo game.
Yeah.
He's got to counter his next couple of spells. He can do it with a Spell Pierce. He's got Force of Wills, as you did mention. It can happen. There's a Volcanic Island. That's a good. That's a land. It's not terrible.
All mana is good for Kennen.
Yeah.
Or for Josh, rather.
Attack here for 4. Haas gonna go down to 15.
And Josh also appears to have a Delver he can add to his board. Oh no, he's going to Brainstorm. Finds more mana. And a Ponder. Now we're going to see... That Ponder, he already set back 2 lands, so I almost certainly will be seeing a Shuffle. think he's looking at True Name Nemesis, but
That one's not gonna. I mean, given the game that we're in, it's not terrible right now.
well, I think the Tabernacle just makes it too hard to play True Name Nemesis
Yeah.
effectively.
Tabernacle putting the squeeze on.
Yeah.
Along with
softer-
everything else he's doing.
More soft permission, more cantrips, and bolts. I think is kind of what Josh is in the market for.
I can only imagine just being Guibault or any of the blue-red red players who have played against many of the Delver players that play against this deck, and just how it feels like you're walking on eggshells. Just something bad can happen every turn.
Mm-hmm.
And again, especially when you don't know the composition of your opponent's deck, Guibault knows now because of the deck list. But I mean, when you look at this thing sitting down, it's like, okay, I got to contend with Wasteland, Smallpox, Liliana, Entomb that can find things, Punishing Fire, the fact that he can accelerate with Mox Diamond, he's got a Loam Engine, he can accidentally oops I win with Thespian Sage and Dark Depths. I got to worry about so many different things. How do I plan accordingly for all these different things?
Yeah, the deck attacks you from so many different angles. I mean, it has a ton of creature removal and a lot of ways to attack your mana as well. And those are two really good recipes for fighting Delver decks.
Expect to see a lot of this deck in the future, win or lose of this match. There's a Smallpox with mana up in case the spell appears. Obviously, he's tapped out. This is definitely worth Force Willing, so Force Will removing days. So, Smallpox will not resolve. He has a backup Smallpox.
But Josh does have a backup Force of Will as well, so. Kennen really just needs to find one more Edict.
Yep. Might see a flashback of Faithless Looting. Nope. Alright, pass it. Don't forget to pay the toll. Ooh. Dead.
Tabernacle.
Tabernacle. Dead token. Poor Brian Bronwyn.
Although it's possible that Kennen actually has to announce I guess the trigger is happening from Josh's creature.
Tabernacle. Yeah, Tabernacle gives it to your creature, so I believe it would be Guibault's responsibility because it's on his creature.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna.
Yep, they're having that discussion right now. Yeah. Old school card.
Yeah.
And this is definitely critical.
This is why they don't make them like this anymore.
Yeah. This is definitely a huge, huge, huge part of this game.
A land that gives your opponent's creatures a mandatory trigger that is terrible if they miss it. This is why they don't make them like this
now
anymore.
this is interesting for multiple reasons. Because Guibault just drew Rest in Peace. And now Rest in Peace is going to come in. How would he have paid for Batterskull on the turn? Would he have used Wasteland? What would he have done? Who knows? But given the game state that we're in now, Rest in Peace is going to come in. It's going to clear everything up. And now this is where things get really, really difficult for Haas. Because again, he was using his graveyard as an extension of his hand, and he can no longer do that unless he draws that Singleton Grave Revelation, which would probably get countered by that Force of Will.
But Josh is in a position now where even just random Wastelands are really, really tough for him to slog.
Terrible news. Wooded Foothills off the top, not a Wasteland.
These Smallpoxes are problematic. I mean,
it's all bad.
He's still running out of resources to operate with.
And heaven forbid Haas finds a Liliana the Veil to start going to work that way. So Guibault's going to take a draw. Second copy Rest in Peace.
Not as good as the first.
Not terrible, though. It's going to be Stoneforge, probably. Yep. So the Mystic is here. Guibault can search for sort of Fire and Ice if he'd like to. I think he's got a Feast and Famine, too. He's going to get Fire and Ice, however.
I assume this is worth using a removal spell for. I don't know if he wants to use his Punishing Fire or if this is a spot where he wants to try to resolve Smallpox.
I think if I was Kennen, I think I would want to go Poxing here. The reason for that is, because I'm okay with it getting Force of Willed. And so I would try to induce the Force of Will. That he's going to choose to cast his Punishing Fire, but I think that he might be able to induce a Force of Will if he casts Smallpox, and he draws an Innocent Blood for the turn. So maybe had he waited, he draws Innocent Blood, And he realizes that he can just use that. It's just he was going to draw a Force of Will. And now here's True Name. Sword, excuse me.
Josh, Kennen rather definitely has creatures covered. As looks like Nether Spirit is about to make its.
It's winning time.
Yes.
However, if he gets Force of Will, it's gone for good. Which I think is awesome. Nether Spirit, can it stay? This is actually a real decision.
Oh yeah, no. Are these forcibles getting?
He's got to he's got to force it. I'd be smiling too. I can't believe I'm forcing another spirit, but hey, it's gone for good. So
yeah.
All right, one problem down. Guibault gonna draw a card. Misty Rainforest. And put that out there. We're almost getting to that point too, where Batterskull starts to become a relevant card again. We're getting very, very close. Maze of Ith just stopped that. So, excuse me.
Still some removal spells left. You can also Smallpox here to try to attrition out some lands.
Attrition out some lands, attrition out maybe a card out of the hand, pick up the Batterskull is what Guibault's going to do, and he can't Wasteland right now because he needs to get to 5 land to be able to cast the Batterskull, which he does draw the 5th land in Flooded Strand. Time to take a look at the old graveyard.
Yeah, because it's actually realistic for Josh in this game to run out of lands to fetch
for.
Oh,
yeah. Very real. That is very, very real right now.
So Josh is going to go get some lands, and he's down to 4 in play and at least 1 land removed from the game.
Oh, there's B-Skull. But as we know, got a lot of ways to take care of that right now, does Haas. Got Innocent Blood, got Smallpox, has Maze of Ith too. Doesn't even really need to even cast a spell.
Potentially Tabernacle.
Yeah. Hey.
We shall see.
It's the shooter in the Watchtower.
Yeah, we've seen this before.
Yeah. Urborg in the house makes casting Smallpox much easier. And so it looks like that's what Haas is going to do. There's your Pox. So that's going to take care of the Batterskull token. It'll take care of land from Guibault. It'll probably make him discard the Rest in Peace that's over there. And there goes the Foothills and the Badlands. A little bit of life is exchanged as well. You see Haas is ready to finish resolving this. There goes Rest in Peace. There goes BBD. And there goes Volcanic Island. So again, Guibault's 1 land away, and 2 or 3 turns away from trying to attack with a Batterskull. Guibault will take a draw step, Flooded Strand.
All right. Well, I think we're now really, really thin on lands that we can go find.
You saw him search out a Tundra here, and Haas immediately goes and picks up the graveyard, thinking, maybe he's out of blue-red lands.
Pretty reasonable. Most of these lists play roughly 7 duels.
Yep. The one thing here, too, just something to keep in mind, is that Guibault actually didn't have to search there with the Flooded Strand. There's Zorborg in play.
Oh.
Yep. Just spotted that. Alright, so Batterskull's going to come back. Don't know if that's going to come back to bite him or not, but he did not need to search. Take a draw, Mr. Haas. Crop Rotation. That can go find the old Dark Depths.
So 1 piece of the puzzle accounted for.
And then we can go manual. Time to cast Innocent Blood. Are we going to fight over this? He's got Force of Will blue card. I could see the fight get picked. It could be worth it. Yeah. Force of Will removing days. Maybe if you crop rotate, what do you crop rotate for?
Probably not worth crop rotating just yet, as there's a Wasteland still up for Josh.
Equip the sword. The problem, yeah, I guess, and now he's going to Wasteland the maze, and I think, yeah,
he might just need to crop rotate this maze into another maze.
Yeah. I agree. Brainstorm the card here for Guibault in his hand. There's something he can brainstorm into to get himself out of this. Daze isn't going to do it, obviously.
There was a second maze, if I recall correctly. One in the main.
One in the main, one on the board.
One on the board. So.
I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. The way that Haas has played these games has been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. This has been pretty sweet.
Really, really like what I've seen from him.
Is he saying if he can race here? Okay, he's just getting another maze.
What's the rush? You've been putting the sleeper hold in all day. No rush necessary. Question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Best crop rotation deck.
Best crop rotation deck. That's a really good question.
That card had to have seen some sort of.
It did.
Yeah, it had to have seen
It definitely showed up in guys' cradle
something.
decks.
Yeah.
It definitely showed up in cradle decks at the minimum. That's a really good question. Ooh.
Hello.
Brainstorms into another maze, and now it's on.
Yeah. All right. So that's a good brainstorm.
Yep.
4, 5, 6, trigger 7, 8. So all of a sudden, we're in some trouble here. Wowee.
Yeah, I mean, this is now
He's got to find something now. What do you draw?
a second copy of Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale.
It's got Punishing Fires. And that is it. Wow. That game changed very, very quickly. So now Josh Guibault evens this up in what looked to be a terrible-looking game for him. And now we're on to a third and final one.
Very impressive. I mean, with Kennen not able to ever establish any sort of wasteland lock or pressure his life to Josh's life to obviously his deck's not very well equipped to do that either. The recurring Batterskull game is a real thing.
It's definitely real. It's definitely real. Especially when Liliana's not involved.
Yep. So, Kennen didn't really have his resources there to run him out of resources, either creatures or mana.
Mm-hmm.
And Batterskull was worth, I don't know how many cards that game. A lot.
It feels like a
Quite
lot.
a few.
It feels like, a whole bunch of them. So, a third and final one is the way we are going to go here. It's certainly fitting. I think everybody wants to see one more game of Jund Depths. I know I do. So we'll watch a third and final game here to decide the champion, our first and second seed of our Legacy Open here in Indianapolis. There are just a handful of people left here in the convention center.
It would be a fittingly weird end to this tournament if Kennen were to beat ad nauseum in the semifinals, only to fall to Blue White Red Delver in the finals.
Yeah, one of what I have to believe is one of his better matchups.
Yeah,
I think it would be quite strange.
We haven't seen him combo off yet. Also,
no.
noteworthy.
It did happen against Shroud, and it actually had to happen against him for him to be able to win. But outside of that, we have not really seen it happen.
And Thespian Stage is actually pretty good value in Kennen's deck, even outside of the combo, which is why you see 3 copies of it.
Mm-hmm.
Copying Maze of It is really strong. There's going to be spots where copying Grove of the Birdwells is something you want to be doing, and it provides a reasonable amount of utility.
So let's see how it's going to break.
One last reminder course here.
Yep. I love it. It's the good versus evil to a certain extent.
Yeah, I mean, Blue White Red Delver is as far as Legacy deck goes, is a fairly honest brew, but we have seen a lot of it today, and we've seen Delver decks quite a bit over the last, since the card's been printed, essentially.
It seems like 2 years now. This thing's been running rampant on Legacy. Rug Delver and now this. Even Bug Delver decks, too.
Yep.
We just need a Bant Delver deck.
Yes.
That's all.
Get Sam Black on the case.
Yeah, you could do it. Sam and Reed.
Just bant it up at in DC to some success.
Yeah, top 8. Familiar territory for Sam.
Yes.
All right, both players checking one more time. They'll be shuffling away, and we'll find out what's going to happen here. Don't forget, next weekend, Orlando, Florida. You excited? Yeah, I know that was a trivia question.
Dude, come on.
I know it was a trivia question. It's already been answered.
Dude, that's fine. Yeah.
I know it was a trivia question. It's been answered already. It was like an hour ago.
I'm really excited.
Okay?
I'm really excited about it.
If you don't know, if you don't have time to Google it now, your Google is bad.
But there's an order we do these things in. There's
Look,
a methodology.
look.
We have a rhythm and a cadence to these things. You can't.
I can, and I just did.
What?
Orlando, Florida. No snow. Get excited.
I'm pretty excited about being able to take my return flight home. as it's currently scheduled. That's pretty exciting.
It'll be Tuesday morning. I'm letting you know now. I would bet it all you're not leaving tomorrow. There's no way. They take these flight delays seriously.
I understand. I'm saying that they rebooked me.
It's for your safety. You think you're the only person rebooked on that flight? No.
I didn't say that. I'm saying that I called them and asked, and they said we've already taken care of it. There's an email confirmation. Maybe that gets delayed too. But as information currently stands, I'm working under the assumption that I'm leaving tomorrow evening.
All right. Tomorrow evening, we'll be eating dinner and then going to a movie.
Okay.
And then you will tweet about how you are not leaving tomorrow evening. That is a series of events that will be taking place. At Basic Mountain on Twitter.
You're probably
Retweet
right.
that.
You're probably right.
Yeah. There's some fast hand motion there from Kennen. I got a lot of energy this late in the day playing a long tournament like this.
Mm-hmm.
I would be beat.
I never made it this far in a Legacy Open, so I don't know this quite this level.
It's final game time.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't look thrilled, but I think he might keep. And Haas is on the play here because he broke serve game 1, and I think his deck is very, very good in this matchup on the play, especially if he has Mox Diamond. I mean, looks like he's on. Yeah. All right, it's a keeper. Let's do this. And there is a Faithless Looting, so let's see what we got. Smallpox, Mox Diamond. Oh, yeah. Turn up the heat. Liliana in the grip, too. Any value discards to be had?
Any Nether Spirit.
Big Papa Squee.
Yeah. Not and or, because end's bad, but Nether Spirit or Squee. Perhaps a Loam.
Maybe a Punishing Fire.
I imagine with the amount of time here that we're thinking about this that we have nothing too fancy.
It seems clear that one of the cards was easy. Maybe one of them was hard. Maybe that one wasn't so easy.
You see Josh again. It doesn't look like he has a Rest in Peace hand, but he does have... Also looks like he may have kept a one-lander here. But
discard a Mox in a stage. Doesn't even want the Mox. Wow. All right, there's a Delver. Pox.
Well, there is a Daze in Josh's hand, so he has some protection, some pressure. Good opening start here. No Rest in Peace, but a lot of the other pieces that you'd want.
I think you want to fire off a Wasteland here. Maybe.
Well,
I think he was on a one-lander. Not that he knows that, but
seeing Josh's hand, I would definitely fire off a Wasteland.
yeah. I think he's gonna go for broke and fire off a Pox here. Interesting that he kind of interesting that he discarded that Mox, because it makes it so that he can Pox through a Daze.
Yeah, but then he's just kind of out of resources, and it doesn't look like he has a lot of graveyard value stuff going on, so he might just be trying to set up, I'll Pox this turn. If it gets dazed, I'll Liliana the following turn.
Sure. Yeah, no shot this is resolving, obviously.
Yep.
Need that land, need that creature, need that everything.
Yep.
So that's good. Also need to Brainstorm. So had he fired off Wasteland, we're looking at a different game. As it stands, Delver does not flip, reveals a Batterskull. Boy. Hindsight is 20/20. Delver gonna come across. Now Guibault could actually set it up so that Delver flips an Insectile Aberration and all that jazz.
Well, maybe not. We might be looking at Liliana this turn.
Faithless Looting draw here for Haas. And now it's a situation where Wasteland is so much less attractive. That's the big thing.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how Kennen wants to, if he's going to try to play around the soft permission, or if he's just trying to slog through it here.
Yeah.
He's really, really mulling this one over.
Yeah, I mean, we're taking a look at two Lilianas over there, too. And you're deciding if he wants to Wasteland or if he just wants to cast Liliana. And he is going to Wasteland, so we're going to see a Brainstorm in response. And Mr. Guibault, you better find a land.
Yeah, this is... finds a Tundra.
That's a land, but Brainstorm Lock is kind of engaged here a little bit.
2 Delvers, but if we're able to perhaps fire off another Smallpox, we obviously have a lot of information being able to see Josh's hand, and Kennen doesn't have this, but Josh is very exposed right now to Kennen's most powerful cards.
Mm-hmm. Now there's a Faithless Looting, so a little deeper. Diamond and Looting are the draws. Those might be the easy discards,
yep.
too. There goes Diamond. There goes Looting, okay. So, Haas isn't really up to too much right now. There's Brainstorm going to flip Delver, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So, take a draw. There's a Brainstorm. There's an attacker 3. Haas going to go down to 15.
And curious enough, Kennen looks like the deck this game that's running out of resources.
Yeah. Now there's another Delver. Trouble's brewing. Life alone is pretty good.
Oh boy.
I think you gotta get it. I think you gotta get that in Wasteland. I mean, it's so easy now because we're looking at the hand.
Yep.
It's so easy for us to say that. Especially, if that Delver flips, then you've got the situation where it's like, okay, so you got to flip his Delver. I take 6, I go down to 9. Bolts are in range. Yeah, I stopped his lands, but how much does that matter?
Seriously, let's keep in mind that Kennen has no idea that this is Josh's lone land and there's no land on top.
Yeah, he has no clue.
If he goes and loams for Wasteland here and Wastelands him, and Josh goes, okay, flip Delver, untap, play a land, say go, it's a disaster.
Yeah, what did he even accomplish? All right, so there's a land from the foothills. He's going to go down to 14. I think we're going to see Liliana this turn. Can't afford to play around Days any longer, so there's the Planeswalker. No Days here from Guibault. And we're ticking down. There goes the regular. Now, this draw step should be Source of Plowshares, I believe.
Yes.
There is the swords. There's attack for 3. Get Liliana off the board. Time to brainstorm. Play another replacement Delver.
He's got to keep the pressure going.
Yep.
I like this.
All right, so Haas, take a draw.
But now the information's on the table that there are no lands left.
This is the kind of game that Guibault has to have. The early pressure. Don't let him get set up. Make it really difficult for him so he doesn't just get to do whatever he wants. Kind of stole game number 2 by brainstorming that Wasteland at the appropriate time. But this is the kind of game that he wants to craft.
Really, only Batter Skull gives him any sort of shot in a long game.
Yeah.
It's got to be like this.
Yeah, it's decision-making time. Tough spot here for Haas.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there is, if you go ahead right now and you loan back Wasteland, and Josh doesn't draw a land the next turn, you really only need to find a removal spell in the next couple of turns because he gets to play Liliana next turn, where you have him essentially locked. But if Josh is able to find a land next turn or do something else productive, then he might not have enough time. And he still needs to find another removal spell in this world, too.
And it's interesting, too, because another real plan here for Haas is, there are some really live draws for him. Wasteland's going to come into play. I think he's going to tag that and pass. If he dredges into a Tabernacle, awesome.
Oh,
dredges
yeah,
into a Maze of Ith, awesome. If he decides to take draw steps and draws Entomb one of those lands, awesome. He can do all of those things. Let's see if he drew a land.
It was the 4th Delver.
Okay. An attack here for 4. Going to put Haas down to 10. Guibault has to pass, so Haas has free lane, so do you dredge?
I think with 2 Tabernacles in the deck, the upside is so huge.
Yeah. If you hit, it's insanity how good it is. 1, 2, 3.
There it is.
There it is. And he's got to go for it now. There's a Mox. Going to discard a land that he can get back.
And it looks like Josh is about to be rendered permanentless.
Yep. He has not played land yet for the turn. Here's a loam. This is going to resolve. He can target Tabernacle and he landed in a Wasteland. And all of a sudden, with a perfect dredge off Life Loam, that is going to do it. Kennen Haas.
Wow.
With Jund Depths, a brew unlike any other, is going to win this tournament. You see Guibault, the good sport's going to hand him the trophy. Congratulations to Kennen Haas with an impressive run this weekend.
What an incredible third game,